Welcome to B3 Comics review of The Amazing Spider-Man number 700. Dan Slott concludes Marvel's flagship series. Humberto Ramos is on art. We pick up with Peter Parker trapped in Doc Ock's body. He is leading a team of villains who are attempting to keep him alive and mobile. While installing a movement device, Peter Parker dies. He heads towards a white light and some sort of afterlife. There he sees people who have died like Captain Stacy, Gwen, Marla, and of course Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben says that Peter has to go back and finish the fight. Peter recovers in Doc Ock's body and attacks a police station to get a hold of some Ockbots. While there, he accidentally wounds his ex-girlfriend Carly. Meanwhile, Dr. Ock in Spider-Man's body realizes that Peter is making one last push to swap back bodies. He gathers all of Peter's loved ones under the guise of protecting them from Doc Ock. Peter makes his attack at Avengers Tower, where Octavius has already prepared for him. Utilizing Spider-Man's superpowers and spider sense, Ock is easily able to gain the upper hand. However, it turns out Peter was using the attack as a distraction to attempt to swap back bodies using the gold Ockbot. Unfortunately, Dr. Ock predicted this strategy and placed metal plating along his spine. Declaring victory, Ock mercilessly attacks Peter. Peter makes one last play by trying to trigger his life-defining moments in Dr. Ock. When Octavius sees these heartbreaking moments, like losing Uncle Ben, Gwen dying, and battling with the Venom symbiote, he realizes what it means to be a hero. As Peter dies, Ock promises him that he isn't leaving a villain in Spider-Man's body, but a hero. The series ends with Dr. Octavius vowing to be a superior Spider-Man.
So that was an incredibly depressing ending for Peter Parker, but I don't know, I'm kind of looking forward to Superior Spider-Man after this.
Personally, I'm just so bummed with this ending. I don't even want to think about Superior Spider-Man. In this ending, it's just like Evil won in the end, and that's just the
evil.
It's the worst.
I think it's the exact opposite of evil winning, because it's basically he was so evil, but Peter Parker was so good. His memories were
so powerful
that it has the possibility to change evil. So it's good triumphing over evil, even though, you know, Doc Ock, I guess, I don't know if he gets the last laugh, but Doc Ock is the one that's left standing. It's really good that triumphs, because if Doc Ock is, and they say he's the greatest villain or adversary to Peter Parker, and in the end Peter Parker is able to basically reform him.
I don't think you can reform him.
Whoa!
It's almost like with the X-Men. Nobody ever believes Magneto's a good guy now.
But he's trying, and
he's trying. But
I think Marvel's doing a lot of these reclamation projects where they're trying to get these old villains and make them good guys. I mean, Magneto, you bring a Magneto, but look at Loki. They made Loki into possibly one of the most likable Marvel characters out there, and maybe they can do it with Doc Ock and Spider-Man. It definitely did focus on Doc Ock because, you know, that's part of it. But they had a lot of Peter Parker moments. They had the back, like where he goes to, I guess, heaven, and you see all those characters again. I think that was a nice touch to just show history. I
almost agreed with Silver Sable, though, how she's like, you know, I died and you didn't beat Doc Ock. You know, I died for nothing.
There's probably so many people throughout Marvel Universe where they've just died for nothing.
True. But she died so recently.
That's true. That's true. The last scene where you see those last memories and you see the change sort of happen in Doc Ock or Peter Parker now. What did you think of that? Do you think that was too fast moving?
I thought it was a little quick, but I did kind of like the final few pages where I think Doc Ock basically says, you're not leaving me in your body as a villain, you're leaving me a hero. And I thought that was kind of cool. I don't know if it made up for everything else. You know, I'm not sure if you read, if our viewers out there read Avenging Spider-Man as well, which was a follow-up. And just in that, Ock already seems kind of going back to his evil ways. I think to me, another disappointing thing was, you know, for the past few years, you've been slowly seeing Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson get back together. And just to see, like, Doc Ock take advantage of that is just so, like, it's, like, soul-crushing.
What I found...
It's, like, painful to read.
It was really interesting how Mary Jane basically is treated terribly in this.
Yeah.
And she doesn't pick up on any difference.
No. Like, what I would have loved to see is maybe if... Because Peter Parker dying in Doc Ock's body, you know, everybody's watching and cheering for Spider-Man as he dies, which is, like, the least glorious death you could possibly have if you're Peter Parker.
Isn't that classic Spider-Man?
That's
though?
classic Peter Parker.
Yeah,
yes. I would have at least wished if like maybe Mary Jane would have picked up on it and she would have been able to like.
Who do you think is going to be the first person to pick up on it? Because we already seen Carrie.
Or Carly.
Carly, sorry.
The police officer.
The police, yeah. Peter, as Doc Ock, in his body, tells her that, I'm Peter Parker.
Yeah.
And so she obviously has heard of it from Doc Ock's mouth that, who the real Peter Parker is. So who do you think else is going to pick up on this?
I mean, there's a lot of, like, different people who could kind of pick up these, like, little breadcrumbs. Like, when Peter Parker and Doc Ock's body decided to turn on Trapster, he put a little sign on him saying,
oh, yeah.
For the police, courtesy of your friendly neighborhood, Dr. Ock, which is kind of something Spider-Man says. So, maybe if the Avengers have access to that data, they'll pick up on it. Or his coworkers at Horizon could kind of pick up that he, turned into an egotistical douche all of a sudden. So, I think to me, one of the most disappointing things about issue 700 was I felt like there was so much wasted potential. You did the build up to issue 700. There have been so many like threads that Dan Slott created. For example, Norman Osborn's been in a coma, but I think a few issues ago, basically you saw the hospital and his bed was empty. So that means Norman Osborn.
He's on the loose.
So I almost felt like that was almost a setup for issue 700. Madam Web was having all these visions and going crazy. I thought that was a build up to 700. Hobgoblin came back, the second Hobgoblin.
Yeah.
So there was like all these different pieces that they had set in motion that I thought were all going to build to 700, but they all ended up not being a part of 700.
I guess what those storylines, they're just going to be a part of Superior Spider-Man. They basically set it up for that.
That's true, but I much would have preferred an ending to 700 being like
a culmination
everybody
kind of
has
things.
Their own part. I really loved Spider Island. The final issue of Spider Island, it's like all these moving parts came together and, created one cohesive story. The death of Peter Parker, how long do you think this is going to last?
It's got to last at least a year.
At least a year?
At least a year, because, I'm just looking at it from a, financial standpoint and event standpoint. They're going to have the Age of Ultron this next year, and so the return of Peter Parker's got to be something as big as the Age of Ultron. Right? It can't be something that happens just in the Spider-Man books.
Right.
So I think it's got to be a big event, and it's going to come in the future, not like instantaneously.
I guess as a grade, what would you give this issue?
As a grade, I'd give it a 4. I was pretty satisfied with the ending because I'm excited for Superior Spider-Man now. Before, I wasn't that excited, but I've always liked the idea of a villain, filling the role of protagonist.
Personally, I'd give it a 2.5. I just hated the ending. I can't get past that. And I know a lot of fans out there hopefully will probably agree with me that Peter Parker didn't go out the right way. So 2.5. So thanks for watching B3 Comics review of The Amazing Spider-Man number 700. But before we go, we have a question for you.
So who do you guys think is going to be the first to pick up on the difference between Doc Ock and Peter Parker?
Please leave your comment below, and thanks for watching.